Hey, I'm Chris Alexander. I'm the editor-in-chief of Fangoria magazine, and I'm proud to be sitting here today in the East End of Toronto at the oldest theater in Toronto, actually, known as the Projection Booth today, bookended by two pieces of Canadian horror history. That's right. To my right, Mr. Art Hindle, star of such films as Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Black Christmas, and the film we're here to talk about today, The Brood. To my left, one of the great unsung child actors, really, Cindy Hinds, the long-lost Cindy Hinds, who played this man's daughter in David Cronenberg's 1979 masterpiece, The Brood.
Daddy?
Oh, Candy. What's the matter, sweetheart? Why aren't you sleeping?
I had a bad dream.
Here we have two alumni of The Brood, father and daughter, who were at different points in their own professional lives and personal lives. But for an actor, a young actor at the time, who was already established, suddenly in a movie with two of the big, I guess two of their generation, the biggest British actors of their time, Samantha Eggar and Oliver Reed. Were you, I would say nervous is not the word, but was it daunting a little bit to come face to face with a presence like Reed?
No. Not really, because I had an opportunity to hang out with him before we started filming.
Right.
And he was so off the wall and so disingenuous that it was easy. You know, went out a few times with him, got into some hijinks. He got into his own hijinks before I even got there. You know, He's
legendary for his hijinks.
He was arrested because he made a bet with somebody that he could walk from a bar on Yorkville over to the old Park Plaza, which is the corner of Avenue Road and Bloor.
Yeah.
And he won the bet, but they had to bail him out of jail. So he did a bunch of stuff. I remember introducing him to my mother-in-law at the time, and at the wrap party, and he was smoking a cigarette, and he deemed that impolite to have the cigarette. So he was standing, he didn't know where to put it, so he finally just put it out on his tongue and then ate it.
Were you there for that?
Yeah, I remember the rap party. He stole, the crew had got my mom a nice bottle of cognac or something like that. And we went, after the party, went back to get it, and it was missing, so she asked, and somebody went, oh, no, Oliver took that up to his room. He drank the whole thing.
Well, he used to like cognac or whatever near the end of the day. You had to get him finished by the end of the day. And probably, we were talking about how he was protesting. Mm-hmm. We were working late on that scene where they were attacking you in the bunkhouse. And he kind of went back to his dressing room in protest. Yeah. Well, he also probably went back to have a couple of nips too. Yeah. And thought, well, I can go back and get the nips and protest at the same time.
An interesting guy who lived life the way he wanted to live it.
Yeah, he went out. Yeah. He went out the same.
Sure did. Doing Gladiator, right? That was his swan song.
Yeah, he was fabulous.
What about Samantha?
Believe it or not, I didn't meet her until the wrap party.
Is that right? Yeah.
Never,
there are no scenes with your mom in that movie at all.
Didn't meet her. Didn't work with her. No, not at all.
I think she was. She was really very distant, very cool. We didn't really talk much. It was hard to. I'm pretty gregarious on a set, and we didn't really talk. Or, I have a feeling that she didn't know what she was into. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, she must have.
At what point did she realize when they were applying a giant umbilical cord and fetus?
Yeah, I think that at that point she said, maybe I should have read the script.
Yeah.
She was very distant.
Yeah, well, that's
my memory of her.
Well, maybe that distance worked because that scene at the end when she finally lifts her muumuu, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
And she says, "Look," and there it is.
Yeah.
It's your face that sells it. I mean, you're very serious in the movie, and you're very grim. It's almost a detective thriller. This movie, really, isn't it? Yeah. But when you see that, it's the first time we actually see genuine shock. You've seen it all in this movie, but you haven't seen this. Do you remember the first time you saw that thing sitting on her lap?
I think what they were showing me was my contract off screen. It was like...
Had you worked with children up to this point?
Well, at that point, I had four children, so I was really comfortable around children. And as my wife said to me the other day, she was lamenting. She says, "Oh, I wish I was 20 again." She said about herself, and then she turned and looked at me and said, "And I wish you'd made 20." So, a lot of people have said that I'm like a big kid. So, and particularly my kids have said that. So,
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
so when Cindy and I know that was kind of my prerogative at that time, or my need was to make sure Cindy was having fun off screen.
Right. Were you having fun on screen? You had a good time too making this thing?
Kind of. Yes and no.
It was a strange point in your career. Wasn't
Yeah, it was. Well, what would happen? I had come up. My girlfriend was doing a movie at that time, something out at Kleinberg Studios with George McCowan, who directed Face Off.
Right.
And I was in town, and then
Face Off. We should mention the 1971 Canadian hockey film, not the 90s film with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. Right. Okay. Just so we know, we're just timing it here.
I was back in town from Los Angeles. I had done an Invasion of the Body Snatchers the year before in San Francisco, so I was feeling pretty hot. But I was in town, and somebody said, "This guy wants to meet you." And actually, the first thing he said to me was, "Are you really Lang Hindle's brother?" Because Lang Hindle my brother was a famous motorcycle racer, and as you know, David Cronenberg is a speed freak for any vehicle that moves fast. So. I guess I got the part through nepotism. But, he asked me to read the script, and I did, and I said, "What are you doing here?" Anyway, I was going to be in town, so I thought I'll do it. And it was pretty tough because a lot of it was very depressing every day. And I said to David, I remember driving home one night from, I think, that stuff we were shooting up by Courtright. I said to him, Why do you do this stuff? Where does this idea come from? And he said he dreamt it because he and his wife were going through a divorce, and they were talking about who gets the kids.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's well documented.
Absolutely.
But I said, well, look, next time let's do a comedy.
Yeah.
Because he's a funny guy.
He is a very funny guy, and you wouldn't know it from his first few films. I asked Art or asked David about that. You mentioned your brother, thinking there was a bit of nepotism in there, an ulterior motive, if you will. And he said no. He said Art was simply the best man for the job. That's it. Now we talked about Art, what stage of his career he was in, and how he got involved in this movie. But here's this little girl who, up to this point, had you done The Littlest Hobo yet, or was that later? I mean, you hadn't done much.
No, I hadn't done much. Mostly commercials and modeling and stuff. No, Hobo and all that came afterwards. All the other movies. That was my first feature film, and basically, my big role.
What a strange first dance partner, huh?
It certainly was, and I know my mom was really concerned about whether or not I'd be able to handle it, but. I don't know. Kids are resilient, and I've learned that just from my own kids, what they can put up with and get through. And I was just so excited to be there, but truthfully, I didn't know who any of these guys were, right? I was just a little kid. To me, it was just fun.
There's lights on you, you're the center of attention, you're having a great time. Do you remember the audition process, though? Were there other kids vying for the same role?
There was, and then I had to go back, because I didn't obviously meet David the first go-around, and then I got called back in to read with him. Vague memories, right, of how it all went, but I just remember getting the call and screaming and jumping up and down and running around. Then it was like, okay, so what do I do now? I didn't know much of anything, just that I got this great movie role, and it was fabulous.
And as a child performance, it was fabulous too.
I still say one of the best, if not the best, in horror films, and in that context, one of the best child performances ever.
That's
because
right.
you keep that, and again, you're saying how much fun you had, and how hard it must have been with kids running around in jumpsuits with fake mallets bashing people on the head.
Yes.
To maintain that.
To be so serious all the time.
To maintain that. So you're here back at the Brown School. Cindy hasn't been here since '79. How does it feel being back here together, though, after 30 years?
It's just like riding a bike, right?
Yeah, nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed.
Everything changes and nothing changes.
I got taller, but he didn't, so it's good.
You caught up to me, though.
I did. Yeah.
You caught up to me in age,
I was just going to say, I'm almost as old as you now.
Just in passing.
Well, Cindy, you have some stories about the blood. You were saying about your strongest memories of this school were bloody memories, right?
Bloody memories, and they all got cut. Ended up on the floor. I can't believe it, but beating up the school wall. I guess that was supposed to be my connection with the broodlings. So while they were pulverizing the teacher, I was out beating up the school. But Didn't make it to the movie.
Were you on set during those bludgeonings?
Yes, actually, I was trying to help keep some of the kids calm too. There was a lot of very upset kids that just had a hard time realizing it was just pretend and it was fine. So there was a lot of consoling and saying, "Don't worry about it." And yeah, like the crying you hear of some of the kids. That was real kids crying in the background. As a parent now, I kind of go, "Oh, that was awful to do that to them," but at the time, it was cool.
How old were you when you made this movie?
8.
So for a little girl, 8 years old, thrust into this environment with the dark overlord of body horror,
Yeah.
what are your memories of this? Going into this world, was it as grim as it comes across on screen?
No, actually, it was a lot of fun. Between Art and David and everybody else, they made it pretty easy. And with the kids, they didn't want us to be too afraid of everything that was going on. So there was a lot of laughing and joking and eating of the blood, because it was quite tasty, if I do recall, being corn syrup and all that kind of stuff. And I think myself, I had a lot of scenes on my own with the adults and stuff, but it was, I wasn't around with too much of the gore, in all honesty, until the end. But then the kids and I just had so much fun freaking our parents out, coming out, licking our hands covered in blood. It was
We're pretty
it was
shot,
great.
and I think we shot all that stuff at the end of the film.
It was
too.
near the end, yeah.
Classic shot that's used in all the ad campaigns for it is the hand coming through the door and grabbing you with that scream on your face.
Yes.
You can't fake that.
Yeah.
That looks legitimate, like legitimate shock and terror.
It was. I was there. I think Ollie and I were both there, and we both were kind of watching over as fellow actors do for each other.
Even
especially
my mom, even after it was done, she's like, "I wanted to tell them to stop it. Are you okay?" Like she was in. I'm like, "No, I'm fine. It's okay. I'm fine. No problem. It's good."
Sometimes it is tougher on the parents than it is on the actor, the child who's acting, because for them it's just a little game,
Yeah, they just said get lost into it, and that's what it is. I think one of the things I didn't like though is the pounding. They're sitting there going,
when they're banging on their side of the
through
wall?
the doors and stuff, and then smashing through and everything. But no, like I say, I think it was just so comfortable with anybody. I didn't have any fear. I didn't have any. It was just getting into the moment and going for it. Right? That's what you gotta do.
What a trooper, huh? What a trooper.
But reading through the script, of course, a lot of it didn't make sense to me, and I didn't understand a lot of the stuff, but just kind of went, yeah, okay, and, worked on more of my parts. I think that was a big problem I had, though. I'd be in the scene, and I'd keep mouthing everything, right? Art would be talking, and I'd be starting to say...
You'd be saying my lines, right?
Stop.
That's how I knew my next line, because I would look at you and you'd tell me what my line was.
Do you want to tell me a story? About what happened today at Grandma's?
And I remember, doing each scene where I had to be so upset. And there was quite a bit of my stuff that was actually cut out, because David had a whole different background idea of what he wanted happening with Candy throughout the movie. Whenever there was things going on with the broodlings, there was other stuff going on with me that actually didn't make it into the movie.
Right.
But he used to always, set up the things and then starts, think about something really sad, or think about something really angry, or think about something that, he was always coaching me, and then he'd get me going, and then he'd jump away and say, okay, film it quick, and get it done.
Right.
It's funny, he didn't say anything.
Going home, Candy.
You're in this movie, The Brood, and you're a child actor.
Yes.
And you're in this movie that none of your friends can see.
Yes.
Was that a bit of an anticlimax to come back to school triumphant? The only thing you have to show for it is a little poster with "They're coming to get you" coming out of the thing, but you couldn't show them anything. No one could see it.
No. So all the, some photos and newspaper articles and me saying that I was in it, and them going, yeah, sure. Yeah, that was pretty much most of my friends, or I wouldn't say they were my friends. I didn't have a lot of friends because I wasn't in school enough. But my close friends certainly knew. The rest of them were just thinking I was just some little blonde chick making stuff up all the time.
You went to the rap party. That's where you met Samantha, and that's where
Yes.
everything kind of came together. But did you actually go to the cast and crew screening? Did you see the movie?
No, I wasn't allowed to.
Isn't that a strange
Because,
thing?
I mean, nowadays they'd probably let kids go, but because, back in the 70s,
Yeah.
the rules were, and it was rated R, so no, I couldn't go. Just
When did
my
you?
mom got to go.
When did you finally see it?
I think I probably saw it shortly thereafter, though, like before it was being released. I had my own. I think, actually, if I'm not mistaken, David arranged a private screening for myself and the little
Your
boy
family?
who ran out saying they're hurting
Oh, yeah,
the
they're
teacher.
killing the
But
teacher,
That
yeah,
little boy,
yeah.
and we
Yeah.
had our own private screen. Actually, now that I think about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and see that. But yeah,
What about you, Art? I mean, you never know what the movie is going to be until it's actually cut, scored, and it's ready to go. Do you remember the first time you saw The Brood?
I remember one day, I lived in Hollywood, and one day my son ran in and he says, Dad, he says, they've got a screening at the Pantages of The Brood. And it says on the marquee that David Cronenberg is going to be there. So I said, okay, let's go. So we all went. We all sat in there. And that's when I watched it. I think it was, that would have been mid-'80s or something like that, because it never made the theater. And back then,
it was re-released.
I don't even think, this would have been, this would have been early 80s.
Yeah.
81, 82, 83, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And actually, it was funny. We were still in the dark. The lights come up. This kind of greasy-looking guy comes out. He's I guess the theater manager. He says, and now, everybody, and most of the audience, it was an afternoon matinee kind of thing, and most of the audience were guys in overcoats, And he said, and now, the director of this film, Mr. Cronenstein, is going to answer some questions. And so he came out, and there were kind of no questions, really.
Right,
They were standing there, and then he said, well, let me ask a question, how long did it take you to shoot, just some questions. And then there's still no questions. And there are no questions from Mr. Cronenstein? And finally I said, what are you doing after the movie? And I was in the dark and he couldn't see who it was or anything. He says, there is no after the movie. And he was being philosophical.
Right. Now, you starred in The Brood wasn't your only horror story. We talked. You were in The Dead Zone, not a horror film.
I did a few, not a horror,
But-
per se. I also did Deadline.
Deadline. Now, are you aware? When I was growing up, Deadline was a bit of a handshake called classic, and it still maintains a fan base to this day because it is just wall to wall. Have you seen it?
I have seen it.
It's a bloodbath.
It's a gruesome movie, absolutely gruesome movie. That was certainly more trying to film than The Brood was. It was a little more difficult because I got hung on 2 different occasions, 2 different ways. So that was a little stressful as a child doing that. But I remember when we finally were able to find it and rent it, I was with my dad and stepmom and my stepbrother, stepsister, and we laughed and laughed and laughed because, here's this serious scene going on, and all of a sudden, whoop, there goes Cindy swinging by, and all this stuff going on, and it was like, but it was pretty, that's a gruesome movie.
It sure is, and nobody remembers this movie. It's high time
Stephen
somebody
Young.
exactly dug it up and gave it a proper release. Deadline, 1987, I want to say, right? So Art went on to become Art Hindle. I mean, here he is sitting here today. Devil May Care is the man. But you kind of stepped off the ladder, right?
I did. Yes.
Was that a conscious decision, or did you?
It was, I think, a little bit of everything, right? Getting to the age where things were getting a little bit more difficult. There wasn't a lot of stuff in Canada for kids in the early teens age bracket. Plus, I still looked very young, but not young enough that I could do the younger roles like David had cast me for. I was just getting into high school, and I wanted some normalcy, so I just decided to step back a little bit, and then by the time I finished high school, I was just in a completely different place in my life, and it just didn't make sense for me to jump back in right then, and then I just never looked back, I guess.
I have to really hand it to you, the young you, that you hung in there in the most difficult shoot and did 6 weeks of, well, for me, it was one of the toughest movies I've had to do. And you were right there.
Yeah, I think for my first film, it was.
Match stepped with me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.